Just hours after her passing Friday, the death of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg had become a top campaign issue. Now the focus of the election looks much different. Republicans are attempting to secure President Trump's third lifetime appointment to the Supreme Court. That's more than any president has had since Ronald Reagan. Mr. Trump says he will nominate a woman to Ginsburg's seat as early as this weekend after services for the late justice. But he does not appear willing to honor her dying wish that she not be replaced until after the election. This morning, the president baselessly claimed the comments, as reported by NPR, may have come from Democratic leaders like Adam Schiff, Chuck Schumer, or Nancy Pelosi. Here's how he responded when asked about it this afternoon.
Supposedly the last wishes of Justice Ginsburg were made up because it supposedly came from her granddaughter.
Yeah, it just sounds to me like it would be somebody else. I don't believe it could be. It could be, and it might not be too.
Sir, what would be
it was just too convenient.
This morning, the president told Fox News he has 5 nominees under consideration, including federal judges Amy Coney Barrett, Barbara Lagoa, and Allison Rushing. Once selected, the nomination will then go to the Republican-controlled Senate. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has promised President Trump's nominee will get a vote. So far, 2 Republican senators, Susan Collins of Maine and Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, have come out against filling the seat before the results of the presidential election are known. But it would take 4 Republican no votes to block a nomination. Roughly 200,000 Americans have died from the coronavirus, and the White House and CDC director are still at odds over when a vaccine might be available. At his campaign event in Delaware, Democratic nominee Joe Biden blamed the president for the death toll.
If only the president had acted sooner. Back in May, Columbia University released a study that said that if the president had acted just 1 week sooner, we would have saved 36,000 lives. Today, the leading model being used to track the virus, one which the White House and many others rely on, that model says between now and the end of this year, while we're waiting for a vaccine, between now and the end of the year, we're going to lose up to 200,000 additional lives. Due to Donald Trump's lies and incompetence in the past 6 months, have seen one of the gravest losses of American life in history.
Let's bring in Paula, Reid, and Liz Goodwin to help us understand where things go from here. Paula is a CBS News White House correspondent, and Liz is the Deputy Washington Bureau Chief for the Boston Globe. Welcome. It's good to have you both. Paula, let me start with you. When the tables were turned 4.5 years ago, Senate Republicans held open Antonin Scalia's seat after Merrick Garland was nominated in March, saying it should be up to the people to decide. First, you'll hear Senate Judiciary Chair Lindsey Graham doubling down on that in 2018. Then this afternoon, saying he's ready to advance a nominee. Let's listen.
This may make you feel better, but I really don't care. If an opening comes in the last year of President Trump's term and the primary process is started, we'll wait till the next election. And I've got a pretty good chance of being the judiciary.
You're on the record.
Yeah.
All right.
Hold the tape.
I will be leading the charge to make sure that President Trump's nominee has a hearing, goes to the floor of the United States Senate for a vote, because that is my job, and I believe I am doing what the people of South Carolina want me to do in this regard.
Why did Republicans change their position now that the situation is no longer hypothetical, Paula?
Because they can, Elaine. And some explanations have been put forward. The first is that now both parties, the same party, has control of the Senate and the White House, which they say is different than what they had experienced when President Trump advanced Merrick Garland. There's also an explanation that's been put forth that they're entitled to flip-flop because of what happened during the nomination process of Justice Kavanaugh. But at the end of the day, Elaine, a lot of these folks, the president included, they are fine to be labeled as flip-floppers or hypocrites. because they want to make sure that they put this conservative justice on the Supreme Court. At the end of the day, that's what is most important to them, and there's pretty much nothing in terms of procedure that Democrats can do to stop them. Though there are some political calculations that have to be taken into consideration. For example, when do they potentially try to hold this vote? And is there anything else potentially that they're worried about in terms of galvanizing Democrats over this?
So, Liz, Democrats can't stop this process. Can they run out the clock? Can they use any kind of procedural levers to try and slow things down?
Well, Chuck Schumer has said that everything is on the table, and that's sort of the posture that Democrats are taking. They're trying to stay really positive and encourage their supporters, liberal activists, to be calling Republican senators and putting a lot of pressure on them, trying to flip 2 more, since you have Senator Collins, Murkowski, who've already said they oppose this. Their only hope really is to keep up that pressure and flip 2 more senators. But on the procedural side of things, as Paula said, there's not really much they can do. They're in the minority. There are ways to kind of drag the process out, try to take every option they have to slow things down. But I don't think anyone believes that they could actually prevent a vote on the floor. And as Mitch McConnell said today, there will be a vote on the Senate floor. He's very emphatic on that, and there's not a lot that Democrats can do about that.
And Liz, the House officially plays no role in judicial confirmation, but Speaker Nancy Pelosi was asked yesterday about what she could try and do. Let's go ahead and listen to that.
Some have mentioned the possibility, if they try to push through a nominee in a lame duck session, that you and the House could move to impeach President Trump or Attorney General Barr as a way of stalling and preventing the Senate from acting on this nomination.
Well, we have our options. We have arrows in our quiver that I'm not about to discuss right now.
But to be clear, you're not taking any arrows out of your quiver. You're not ruling anything out.
Good morning. Sunday morning. We have a responsibility. We take an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. We have a responsibility to meet the needs of the American people. When we weigh the equities, protecting our democracy requires us to use every arrow in our quiver.
All right, Liz, what should we make of what we heard from Speaker Pelosi there?
Yeah, so that was kind of an interesting moment for multiple reasons, but I think what she was saying about the Barr impeachment possibility, she just was declining to take it off the table, basically. And what that would mean practically is if the House voted to impeach the Attorney General, that would set up a Senate trial, and there's lots of sort of automatic rules about how that has to happen within a set period of time. So I think that's something they're looking into to see, you know, how much that could delay a vote. But the thing is, with the SCOTUS, with Supreme Court, Republicans also have the lame duck that they could get this nominee through. So they actually have more time than you would think, given the election's only, like 44 days away. So even with a more drastic move like that, I don't think it would be possible to completely head off a vote.
Yeah, well, Paula, I want to ask you about the top contenders identified to potentially fill the Supreme Court seat. Last year, President Trump reportedly said he was, quote unquote, saving Judge Amy Coney Barrett for Justice Ginsburg's seat. So let's start with her. Is Judge Barrett the most likely choice? And what else can you tell us about her?
Well, I'm told she's one of the top 2 right now. She is an appellate court judge. She has a long history, a long record of conservative academic opinions, judicial opinions. She really does have a solid record that would speak to a lot of the president's supporters and the outside groups that he needs to appeal to. but perhaps most importantly, because she was so closely in contention when Justice Kavanaugh was selected, her file, if you will, her paperwork is pretty much all in order. It may have to be supplemented a little, but all the ducks are in a row for her to be put forth. And in this particular situation, time is of the essence. So she definitely has all the right credentials. She looks good on paper. The president has met with her. And going forward, it appears just the fact that she's already been through this, she's already kind of down the road, that could make all the difference for her here.
And Paula, what about the other top contender? You said there's one other.
That's right. The president said he's still considering 4 or 5 people, but I am told the top 2 who are being most seriously considered are Justice Amy Coney Barrett and Judge Barbara Lagoa in Florida. She's also an appellate judge. She was previously on the Florida Supreme Court. She, too, has impeccable credentials. One thing she does not have, though, is a long history of articles and academic publications. Now, in the legal world, those are a really important credential. But when it comes to confirmation hearings, a lot of the stuff that you write in those articles can and will be used against you in a confirmation hearing. So that could be something that actually works in her favor, because we expect this to be pretty contentious. It would be a Hispanic justice, only the second prospectively Hispanic justice. She's also from the very hotly contested state of Florida.
Right. Well, Liz, the government is still set to shut down in the middle of next week. House Democrats released a stopgap bill to fund the government until mid-December, but it's reportedly missing a key demand from Republicans. What can you tell us?
Yeah, so this stopgap bill, which would stave off sort of the disaster of a shutdown by the end of this month, it's now run into another hitch, which is that Democrats did not include farm aid into the bill. This is billions of dollars to kind of offset some of the losses for farmers in rural states due to trade policies. And privately, Democrats kind of grumble that they see that as sort of a political ask on the president's part, since he doesn't want to be blamed for any issues farmers might be suffering due to his own trade policies. And I think also Speaker Pelosi saw it as a bit of a bargaining chip. She doesn't want to include that aid unless Democrats are getting something as well, such as more SNAP funds or more aid to states for COVID, other things they've been battling on the separate COVID aid bill, which is kind of beached on the rocks at this point, it seems like. So it's unclear if that will end up derailing the whole thing, if we're now back in shutdown territory. My guess is no, because it really doesn't seem like there's an appetite for that right now. But it's hard to say. We're in a volatile situation. Democrats are obviously very angry about the Supreme Court situation as well. So I think it remains to be seen what happens.
Well, when it comes to COVID relief, Liz, I mean, with so much focus now on the Supreme Court seat, is this the end of hope for more coronavirus relief until the election?
The COVID relief bill, it's just been really odd to watch, honestly, because this is something that both sides, they continuously say, oh, we really want this. And yet there doesn't seem to be movement. You know, the aid ran out at the end of July. This is something everyone can agree is important, I think, to help people who are out of work right now, to help small businesses. And yet, even on the Republican side, with Trump potentially having a political reason to support this, there doesn't seem to be unity within their conference on wanting to get this over the line. They don't seem to want more unemployment aid, just more on the business side. So it does look like the COVID aid might end up being a victim of just apathy and the general drama in Congress right now.
Yeah, despite the fact that tens of millions of Americans are in such desperate need of relief right now. On another topic, Paula, Attorney General Bill Barr is labeling 3 cities, New York, Portland, and Seattle, as anarchist jurisdictions in order to withhold federal funds. Why are they doing this, and what impact will the moves actually have on those cities?
It's a political play, Elaine. Here, the Justice Department is framing these cities as having allowed property destruction and violence, and they're trying to take away some of their federal funds. Now, this is a political move in the sense that they're trying to frame these Democratic-led cities as chaotic, while the president is in their framing of things. They answer the quote law and order president, even though all of these violent incidents, this property destruction are taking place while President Trump is in the White House. But this is part of their campaign strategy that if you don't elect President Trump, all cities will look like these quote unquote anarchist cities. But this is definitely going to head to the courts, and it's unclear that the courts and legally are going to allow the Attorney General, one of the president's closest and most fervent supporters, to take away federal funds based on this characterization of the state of these particular cities.
All right, so many political moving parts. Paula, Reid, and Liz Goodwin, thank you for helping us keep track of it all. Really appreciate it.